Hello everyone, McGee here with another draft battle analysis video and recap, this time taking a look at my quarterfinals match in the BBF, the Banished Battlers Frontier, which is another Ubers League that I have been playing for the last couple of months. This is the playoff match, the first one. My team was able to claim the number one overall seed after inheriting a 2-1 team with a zero differential and then getting 7 straight wins to close out the season at a positive 30 differential. So, feeling very strong about my team going into playoffs. There are some adjustments I'm going to make in this match to kind of reflect some things I needed to do as I entered playoffs. So before we dive into the match, I do want to give a little bit of perspective on the team I had. So it's got an RCS Electric, very strong, very good Ubersmon. Ash Greninja, also very good closer as a Ubersmon. Some really strong bulk in the Corviknight and the Mega Sableye. I have a Rillaboom, also good in offensive. You're going to see that I bring a Centiskorch in this match, but for every week I've played this season with this team, I've brought the original five, and then instead of the Centiskorch, it's been a Pyukumuku. So I brought the same 6 bonds to all 7 of my matches. Did it because it was the best thing for me to do in the first 4 matches, and then continue to do it intentionally afterwards because I had already been in a spot to secure playoffs, and I didn't want to give perspective on what my other pieces could do. I wanted to force people to over prep for things I may change my mind about come playoffs. So it was a very intentional decision to bring the same 6 for the last few weeks of the season, which is relevant here because I have played Frandaly before. I played him a few weeks back and was able to win off of the original 5 plus Pyukumuku instead of the Centiskorch. So there's going to be some changes in how I prepped for this match and what I was intentionally trying to do as counter prep to my playstyle being called. So before we dive into the match, I'm going to show you the team he had available to him, and then the pieces I brought to address that. So we're going to go over to his team. I think I need to adjust this really quickly. There we are. So he has a Magirna, very strong, very scary sweeper if you don't address it immediately. The first time we fought, he brought an assault vest set, I think believing it would be able to withstand some of the pressure that Arceus brought, but my Arceus ran recover, and it was just able to calm mind in front of the Magirna, and Magirna didn't have the tools to break it. I expected he would change that up again if he brought it, and seeing as it's Magirna, it was almost certainly going to come. So I was aware that the assault vest set was not likely to show up again. Latias Mega, brought it as a combine user last time. Nothing wrong with that strategy. Has a solid speed tier, just a little slower than Arceus, which is obviously a concern for him. Landorus, he did not scarf it last time, and I carried Ice Beam on my Arceus, which was able to one-hit KO it. So I knew going into this match there was a really, really strong chance that if he brings it again, he's going to put a scarf on it so that Arceus can't set up and sweep, and so that he's able to pretty reliably one-hit KO it with Earthquake. Rotom Wash, just a good pivot mon. Used it as such in the last time we fought, so expected a very similar thing again. Incineroar didn't have a great matchup overall, just because most of my team doesn't really care about it. The best thing he has it for is the Rillaboom, but the Rillaboom can still dance around that. Corviknight can run Mirror Armor to negate the Intimidate, throw it back at him, and with Bulk Up, Incineroar just doesn't really have a reliable way to deal with Corviknight. So that wasn't a strong bring. Same issue with Terrakion, where it's really heavily addressed by a lot of my team. He brought it last time. It didn't do a lot last time. It was just unfortunately walled out by the Corviknight and forcibly sacked early in the game to try to create a safe entry for Rotom to come in and force the Corviknight out. So I wasn't too worried about it. I was expecting him not to bring it again just because it wasn't overly effective last time. Crobat, good speed tier, good typing, just not good 1v1 against Arceus or Greninja, so it wasn't something I thought he would really reliably bring. It struggles to do anything to Mega Sableye because it can't Super Fang it, it can't Toxic it. It can, I guess, Nasty Plot, but if the Sableye goes for any sort of Combine Hex shenanigans, it's in trouble. Gyarados really has an awful time against the Arceus, not a good matchup for it. Ferroseed, good bulk, solid typing. And again, this comes into what I've done all season, which is I have not brought the Centiskorch. So on the expectation I don't bring Centiskorch, Ferroseed actually has a pretty safe matchup overall because that's my only fire type. and I don't normally carry a lot of fire moves on the team, so it can do a lot of stalling with Leech Seed and hazard setting. Because again, I haven't brought Defog either all season, so I'm actually fairly vulnerable to Pharaoh Seed doing stall things and setting up hazards. Audino brought it last time. Good wish support. Unfortunately, has absolutely no way to really handle the power of Arceus, and it struggled in its wish support role last time. And then the Why Not? His team is the Washington Why Noties, so it's just the mascot. No surprise there. So the pieces I brought to deal with this, and the other things I had available to me that you can't see are Pyukamuku, who I have a great adoration for, especially in the Ubers format. Very, very surprisingly good mod in the format, but it doesn't do a lot in this matchup. And I was very adamant about going off script in my first match of playoffs to show opponents that I was willing to break from the six I've been bringing. There's also a Clefairy. It was the only original member from the team I inherited that I ended up keeping just because I didn't have anything to switch it out with. I actually couldn't afford another fairy, so I figured might as well keep Clefairy. Rotom Frost, never brought it, probably won't ever bring it. I have it in another league. It just doesn't do anything for me traditionally. It's really unfortunate having to rely on Blizzard as a type to hit something a lot of the time, and I don't like the ice electric type as much as I thought I might. So overall, largely just a placeholder. And then I also have a Latias on my team. Not that I haven't been wanting to bring Latias, it's just my Latias versus Mega Latias plus his Magurna just isn't a really great matchup for Latias. So there was just not a lot of incentive to bring Latias to this matchup. But those are ones I had available to me outside of this members that I do bring here. So let me adjust this again. So I, of course, am going to bring the RCS Electric. I am opting for a Whirlpool Perish Song trap set in this matchup because again, I ran a Calm Mind set with Ice Beam and Judgment and Recover last time. It annihilated his team, and I knew he was going to counter that most likely with Landorus. So there wasn't a lot of value in carrying Ice Beam again, and I knew I was unlikely to get another chance to smack Landorus. And I was also worried that the Magirna was going to go for a Calm Mind Shift Gear sweep set, and so Arceus was in a really good position to trap that because I'm not scared of a Volt Switch set from Specs or from Scarf. It can't trick or it can't trick on Arceus, so I have a pretty free chance against Magirna a lot of the time. And so Whirlpool Perish Song felt like a really strong set to deal with both that and the Mega Latias because neither could really get big enough fast enough to break my Arceus, and it's EV'd in a way to pretty much give me the maximum protection against that. Just really heavily invested, a lot of HP investment, some defense investment just to kind of account for Terrakion a little bit, just so I'm not super frail on that side as much as you can be for a 120 base stat. But that was just the general goal. I debated between Refresh and Judgment as a move if I wanted just to go try full stall and Whirlpool trapping. I was going to maybe run Refresh so I couldn't be statused out. Ultimately, I offered Judgments just so I'm capable of doing some damage and threatening things a little bit. Greninja, Choice Spec set, just a really strong set to run. Dark Pulse, Scald, Water Shuriken, Hidden Power Fire on the off chance that he did bring his Pharisee, just so that I had a really reliable way with Greninja to almost one hit KO that, depending on how it's invested. Corviknight, pretty much the exact same set I ran last time. Mirror Armor because he has two Intimidators between Landorus and Incineroar, so being able to reflect those back was really advantageous for me. Bulk Up, Brave Bird, Roost, Body Press hits everything on his team for pretty good damage once I get going. He doesn't have a lot of ways to address Corviknight if Corviknight gets a couple of Bulk Ups in safely. So just something that can really take over if given the opportunity. Rillaboom, speed investment to outspeed max speed Magirna so that I could always reliably KO it after a Swords Dance with high horsepower, which was always the goal for Rillaboom, alongside just being able to spam Grassy Glide. And the knockoff is also very scary if given the opportunity to hit a couple of things that normally would resist his grass attack. So just that was his goal. And then the rest just thrown in bulk to give him some little bit of extra protection. Mega Sableye, you're going to see a turn one mistake I made here with Sableye. I don't double check that its starting ability is Prankster. It ends up being Keen Eye here. Really unfortunate, and it's somewhat relevant in this match. So just a really unfortunate development there. I'm opting for a Will-O-Wisp Calm Mind Hex set because it can get pretty scary once I start burning things and getting Calm Minds in there. It threatens to kind of just take over a game and break an opponent. So that's where I was going there. and then after a combine, he's just really fat on all sides, so it's just really hard to KO Mega Sableye. And then this is where I go off script. I opt for a Scorch because at that speed investment with a Scarf, he outspeeds the fastest piece on my opponent's team, which is the Mega Latias. It won't one-hit KO with Leech Life, but it will do a ton of damage. So just a really good way to break his team apart because Fire Lash, Power Whip, Knockoff, and Leech Life hit pretty much everything on his team for super effective or very strong neutral damage. He has a really hard time coming in on Fire Lash. His only safe pieces that come in are I think the Rotom. Well, I guess he has a couple pieces that can come in safely on it, but the defense drop makes it really difficult for pieces to wall it out. And so something like Landorus could come in, take the Fire Lash, and then probably go down to the next Fire Lash just because of this defense drop. White Smoke so that I'm not affected by the Intimidates, so that I'm not too worried about Incineroar and Landorus pivoting in and out to try to knock my attack stat down. And then just otherwise maximum attack investment and some decent investment in HP to give me some workable bulk. So that's the team I brought. That's generally what I was trying to address and how I was going into this. I was making sure to be wary of how I played the first time and adjust that based off of how he would, namely on how he uses Magearna and his Landorus, because I thought those would be the pieces that he would change the most to account for what Arceus did to him in the previous match. And so those are kind of the things I consider when going into this. So we're going to play this. Like I said, I lead Sableye. Really unfortunate that it's Keen Eye here because not only is that a useless ability, it means I don't get to Calm Mind as the Rotom's trying to pivot out. So it's just a really unfortunate start to my match. He comes with Magearna because that's the wise thing to do. Just again, unfortunate. I'm at a hard switch to Arceus here because again, Arceus was really built here to address Magearna, who I was very confident was going to try to set up this time or be not the Assault Vest set. So I wanted to have a specific way of addressing Magearna. And I think he's going to assume I'm doing the same shenanigans again of trying to set up in front of him. So I go for the Whirlpool, trap it immediately because I'm confident it doesn't have Volt Switch. And then I'm going to start the Perish Song trapping here. And at this point, he should just continue to be clicking Calm Mind. He shouldn't even be trying to Draining Kiss me at this point because Arceus is just really fat and hard to break. So he's getting a little ahead of himself, trying to Draining Kiss early. I'm going to take advantage of that. And then I'm just going to go into Recover Stall mode here because he doesn't have a way to break me quick enough in these turns. And so I'm just going to keep trying to Recover Stall here and deal with that. And then I'm going to make an unfortunate mistake on my last turn here. So I know I have to flee, obviously. I'm not going to throw Arceus away when I don't need to throw Arceus away. I'm trying to debate what piece I should come in with. I should be aware of the fact that he's going to click Stored Power here. And I should be coming in with one of my dark types, or if I want to be extra safe, coming in with Corviknight, who can resist both the Draining Kiss and the Stored Power. Instead, I'm going to make a really silly oversight, coming in with Scorch, expecting him to click Draining Kiss. So I end up throwing Scorch away for absolutely nothing. You know, I get rid of Magearna, but I didn't have to lose anything in that 1v1. Terrakion comes in. I'm not confident I'm going to outspeed this Terrakion. So I'm going to run away just because I'm not sure if it's Scarf or not, and I'm not going to take a chance on this immediately. And so I'm just going to flee to Sableye. He flees. It tells me that he is not the set that I was worried about. It's not Scarf, so I can work with that. Landorus comes in. Not scared of what Landorus is going to do. I'm just going to click Will-O-Wisp here because that's the safe option. Now Latias is burnt. I can start trying to click Calm Minds to set up. And then the Latias is going to do the same, but because it's burnt, Hex just does so much damage, and I have such a good special defense stat, I'm in a comfortable place in my opinion. I'm a little nervous if I let Latias get too many or too much special defense investment. I'm actually in a bad spot. I need to make sure Sableye wins this 1v1 or I'm in danger of losing the game just because my best answer is Greninja. And so I'm a little nervous about that. I'm just going to start spamming hexes here to get it out of play, I think. Oh, no. I opt for Recover Stall just because I feel like I'm in a good spot to recover out the damage because the 43 was a high roll on Thunderbolt, as we're seeing. And so now I'm in a spot where I just want to hex and get damage once I get back to full health because I know Latias isn't in a great spot to manage me. And so Latias is taking more damage and it's recovering now. I'm ultimately going to end up being at closer to 70-ish percent health, or I'm sorry, 62%-ish health. So just in an overall better spot than I was when I tried doing that. So I give Sableye a little better bulk to work with. Terrakion comes in. I'm going to go for a Will-O-Wisp here because I figure if I go down, I might as well make sure the Terrakion's neutered and unable to do anything for the rest of this match. It's something I'm really no, I'm willing to throw Sableye away here because I don't really need it anymore. Because it's not going to be my best piece to address Rotom. I'm not confident I can quickly break Landorus enough anymore. So once the first Stone Edge hits and puts me down to almost no health, and I got the burn, I'm just going to try to click recover on the hopes that Stone Edge misses because it has a 20% miss rate and I can play with that. But if it goes down, it's not the end of the world. I'm in a pretty good spot to click Dark Pulse with Greninja once I get rid of this Terrakion. I have more opportunities to Whirlpool Trap on his Pharaoh Seed. And then Rillaboom just has a really good overall matchup against most of the pieces that are left. And so I'm going to come in with Rillaboom and try setting up at this point because it feels like a good thing to do. The first Stone Edge misses, which is great for me because now I can click it again. I'm not too worried about what a burnt Stone Edge is going to do damage-wise. It misses the second time. Super fortunate for me. It lets me get to +3 attack. I was always going to get to +2 without too much trouble, but that gives me a free window to get to +3 and pretty much break whatever he has. At this point, I'm not going to be extra greedy. I don't need another one. I only really wanted to get to +3 because I needed a strong way to hit Pharaoh Seed for really good damage, which is what happens with this knockoff here. Just takes it right out of play, all 100% of its health. So really great. As you can clearly see, this game is pretty much over at this point. Rillaboom's going to get another KO regardless of what comes in. Grassy Glide is going to OHKO either Landorus or Rotom. So I've already guaranteed another kill with it. And at that point, he's down to one piece, and I can pretty much come in with Arceus and click or not even Whirlpool, just click Perish Song because he's down to one mon. He can't pivot it out. So at this point, I'm in full control. It's pretty hard for me to even throw it away at this point. So I'm just going to click Grassy Glide because that's going to OHKO Landorus. It didn't really matter what he brought in. It was going to go down either way. And then the last piece is the Rotom, and so I'm just going to Grassy Glide that again because I don't think it has any attack to break me in one turn. And that wraps up the match. So outside of my the two pieces that ended up going down are the two pieces I misplayed or misprepped. Obviously, not having Prankster on Sableye really limited its ability to do anything because I was forced to Mega Evolve it earlier than I would have liked. Which is really unfortunate. I really would have liked to be able to have waited on that because then I could have gotten better opportunities to burn the Terrakion or Landorus before they were allowed to attack. But because I couldn't with Keen Eye, no point in not Mega Evolving. And then I just misplayed around the Centiskorch. I should have gone into Corviknight for that last attack. I think my primary concern was that Corviknight had decent value all throughout this game, especially once I got Rotom out of play, or if I could get Rotom out of play, it really threatened to tear through his team. So I really wanted to make sure it was extra healthy. But, I ended up throwing away my Centiskorch needlessly, and so those were the major slip ups in this match. Otherwise, I knew what my win conditions were. I was really hoping to do what I did with Arceus, which was trap and kill the Magearna. I was hoping to be able to Calm Mind and set up in front of the Latias so that the Sableye was just in a strong position to 1v1 that. I was hoping for a Stone Edge miss on either of the times he clicked it at the Sableye, just so that Sableye could actually wall install like it was wanting to, because if I had avoided either Stone Edge, then Sableye would have won that game out, but it was not meant to be. And then Rillaboom did exactly what I wanted him to do, and what he's really built to do as a Pokemon in general is close out the games, just because Grassy Glide, if an opponent doesn't have a way to pivot out of Grassy Glide, it just starts tearing through teams. And so I was really satisfied with what Rillaboom was able to do in the end game. So that's how that went. Frandaly brought scary pieces. I made good, accurate calls on adjustments he would make from our last match, namely with the Magearna and the Landorus, and both of those played out to my benefit as I was able to counter prep for those sets in a really efficient manner. And so I advance into the semifinals match where I will be playing very soon. And so you can look forward to that video in the coming days. And I will be back with my next one.